Hello, my name is MooingCat and welcome back to the beta server where we are going to talk about the Guild Battlegrounds update. In this video, I will go through all the changes and give some of my thoughts on them as we go along. Now, I know it's been quite a long time since my last video. If you watched my previous video, you will have known why. I do want to give a quick update on that, but I'll do that at the end of the video. So stay around until then if you want to learn more. But I do want to thank you all for your well wishes. Definitely nice to read all of those. Anyways, let's talk about the Guild Battlegrounds update. So we have some mechanic updates and we also have some reward updates. I'm going to go through the mechanics first and then I'll go over the rewards. But you can use the timestamps in the description if you want to jump ahead to a specific section that you are interested in. Alright, let's start with the championship and the new leaderboard. So we have a brand new concept, the Guild Battleground Championships. This will last for 6 Battleground seasons. It was initially 8, so I'm guessing this specific number could change going forward, how many Battleground seasons. But in any event, it's a period longer than a couple of seasons where there is a new leaderboard. So let's jump into game and let me show you this leaderboard. So if you go to the global ranking and the guild ranking, you will now see a new championship leaderboard. So if we go to the first page here, you can see that the current ranking here is based on some certain factors that I'll go over in a moment. Here you can see how long the championship lasts in the top. And if you're wondering where the old ranking is, there is this, I think, quite hidden button in the bottom left corner here. If you click on that, you get back to the old ranking, which as far as I can tell hasn't been changed at all. So it's not replacing the old ranking, even though it's replacing the kind of first spot here, but it is a brand new ranking, so let's go over it. So this ranking here is based on how many championships, or it's based on the current championship, and you can also see how many championships you have won. Of course, so far we don't have any championships. This is a leaderboard over all guilds that are participating in Guild Battleground. And the way the ranking is determined is that it is first determined by league points. You can see because of the cap, a lot of guilds will have 1,000 league points there. So the first 54 guilds here on beta. Then after that, it is based on how many Guild Battlegrounds you have won, how many seasons you have won in the current championship. So you can see that the top 19 guilds all won last time. So I guess that means 19 guild diamond leagues here on this world. Then if that's tied as well, we have victory points. So finally, I suppose, there will be an actual use for getting a lot of victory points. That wasn't really a thing in the past. And then finally, if that is also tied, which I think is very unlikely, it will be based on the guild level. So basically what this means, I think it will mean that among the absolute top guilds, unless they face each other, so I'm guessing that both the league points and victories will be tied at 1,006 or however many battlegrounds there are in one championship. And so the deciding factor, I would guess, is the victory points you get during this period. So that's new ranking. Now, with that said, there isn't actually any rewards tied to it except for glory, I suppose. And I guess that's similar to the old ranking. It's not really you don't really gain much from it. And you just, actually you do, you get guild level. Anyways, but it's mostly for bragging rights. So you can see how many championships your guild has won once we start getting to a couple of them. So that's one change. We have a new championship and a new leaderboard. The another big change is we have some new or revamped province buildings. So if we go into the menu here, we can see that the decoys, traps, and watchtower, they are all still here, but the other buildings have been changed or removed and replaced with other buildings. Some of the graphics remain, but they are new buildings. So in replace of all the buildings that have been removed, we have, you can see here, we have a guild command post, and we have three variations of it with increasing cost and effectiveness. And we have some barracks, three of them as well, again with some increasing benefits and increasing costs as you go up. We also have, for the first time, buildings for the guild HQ. So this one has three buildings you can place, which are the guild field camps. They all give the same bonuses, but again, increasing cost and increasing value as you go up. So the field camp here, you have an 80% chance of attrition reduction. So 80% chance of not getting any attrition for adjacent provinces, and also your guild generates 100% more victory points, and that's for all provinces you own. So I think especially if you are fighting for first place in the guild championships, this I think is a must buy for your guild. It does cost quite a lot though. It costs 25,000 goods in total, and it requires 1 day to be built, so that's quite long. Anyways, you have these three variations. You can only build one on your province, but of course you do keep it throughout the entire season because nobody can take this province from you. Now in all of the other ones, decoys, traps, and watchtowers stay the same. Then we have the command posts and barracks. Both of these give very similar rewards. So the barracks here, we can see the first one, improvise. It has a 20% chance to not increase attrition level for adjacent sectors. Basically slightly worse siege camp. And it also it also increases the amount of advances required to take the province itself, plus 5%. And then for barracks and fortified barracks, it's exactly the same, except the value goes up a little bit, all the way up to 60% attrition reduction, and 30% increased advances required to taking the province. Now, the guild command posts give exactly the same reward bonuses, except it also gives it also makes the province generate more victory points. So 15% for the command post, 30, and then 100% for the fortified guild command post. When I first saw this, I was a little bit confused. Why would these be so similar to each other? But then Jibber mentioned something that actually made quite a lot of sense to me. The reason, according to him, is that they want to give guilds more options. So, for example, here, we can see that the improvised barracks, for example, it costs a lot of water, which I don't have. So if I want the same bonuses, and I do have, well, I do have nanoparticles and algae, so I can get this instead for the same rewards. So actually I quite like it. You have two options, and if you don't care about the victory points, these are slightly cheaper, but the difference is very small. The improvised barracks there, for example, costs 2,800, and then the guild command post here costs 2,900, so 100 more goods, which is not really that much. So if you need the points, you can go for these. If you don't, you can go for these, or if you simply want to go for the one you have the most good stuff in your treasury, you can go for that. So overall, I quite like the new buildings here. So yeah, that's new buildings. Another update with the buildings is that each province has at least one building slot. And if you go into the detailed view, you can see that we now can see how many building slots each province has, and you can see it really simply. So yeah, each province has at least one building slot, up to a maximum of 3. It's still random how many each of the provinces give, but yeah, the more towards the center, the higher the number will be. Another nice thing about this view is that you can see how high your chance is of gaining attrition when you fight these provinces here. So this one, for example, it's not adjacent to this, where I have some attrition reduction buildings. So here I have 100% chance of reducing attrition. Here it's only 20, so that's quite nice to see. So yeah, let's talk about attrition. This is one of the big ones. The 66.6% cap that we saw in the first attempt at a revamp of GBG, that has been, it's still there. The cap is still here, but the number has been increased slightly, so now the cap is 80%. So the maximum reduction is 80%. And they do make a big point here about how this is adjustable. I don't really see how that was different from the old 66.6% cap. It's not really a twist. They could easily have done it, but at least they mention it up front here that this can be changed in the future. So I'm guessing they will look at how things goes with this 80% number, and then they can just adjust it up or down as they wish going forward. So yeah, that's interesting to see. Now, yeah, specifically for Diamond League, the amount of advances required has been increased by quite a lot actually. For the waterfall map, it is up to 200 for each province, and on the volcano, it's 220, which is quite interesting indeed. Another change, if you look at the GUI here and go in game and show. So if I go to the guild here, I can see a member activity. I can see the attrition level of all current members. So if I do a couple of fights here until I gain some attrition, there we go, 1 attrition. So if I now go back here, you can see that I currently have 1 attrition. So of course on beta it doesn't matter for me, it's just me and my guild. But in a big guild it can be nice to see how your members are doing and who are able to fight and who are able to help and so on. So that's quite nice. And yeah, the other changes I've shown. Now another mechanic or reward, actually no, let's talk about that a little bit later. Let's talk about rewards, and let's start about the main rewards. First of all, we have some new boost types. We have seen these in the spoiler section, gone over those in the past. We have attack boosts specifically for Guild Expedition and Guild Battlegrounds. So both attack and defense for both. Currently you don't need defense boosts or city defense boosts in Guild Battlegrounds, but you can still get them, as we will see. But yeah, and of course for Guild Expedition we do need those for level 5. So these are new boost types, and as they say, where do they say it? You will see on future buildings. So I expect going forward in events and so on, we will see more and more buildings giving boosts exclusively for these, which personally I'm not a big fan, but it's understandable. I don't really have anything against the idea. It does allow them to make them higher than they otherwise could have. And for those people that really need them, it can be quite nice. Because I think most people with a lot of very high attack boosts, it's mainly for Guild Battlegrounds. You don't really need high attack boosts anywhere else. So yeah, specific Guild Battlegrounds boosts and higher values, I think that for most players is a good trade-off. At least most established players. In the beginning, it can be quite... if you need some for Guild Continent, for example, then yeah. But you soon see that in Guild on the Continent map, in Guild Expedition, in GBG and so on, beyond a certain point you don't really need more attack boost. So overall I'm not really... I'm neutral on this. I can see the benefits and drawbacks. So the first buildings that it gets these boosts is the Tower of Champions. So the Tower of Champions is a Diamond League exclusive building. In fact, it's exclusive to the top 3 guilds at the moment. It was initially the top 1 guild. They changed it to top 3, so that could also change. But currently, the reward for landing in first place in a Diamond League is 3,000 fragments of this Tower of Champions selection kit. You need 7,500. There are 2 levels, so you need 15,000 fragments to get both levels, which means you have to win 5 out of the 6 seasons in the championship to get level 2 building. So this will be a very exclusive building to the top guilds, which is interesting. So as you can see, this gives attack and defense both for Guild Battlegrounds and Guild Expedition, and for both your armies. It also gives some forge points and some guild goods. Let's actually go back here. So at level 1, it gives between 12 and 50% attack and defense for both of your armies, exclusively to Guild Battlegrounds. And for Guild Expedition, it's between 36 and 103%, so quite high values. It's only a 4x4 building, so very high values. And then we have the level 2 building. Here we get up to 80% for Guild Battlegrounds and 155% for Guild Expedition, so quite a lot. And at level 2, 40 forge points. That is insane. Over 2.5 forge points per tile, and then for 400 guild goods, and this does not require a road. So what do I think about this? Well, I'm a little bit split. On one side, I'm not really a big fan of diamond exclusive rewards. On the other hand, I can recognize the value of having some very exclusive rewards for the absolute best guilds, and I think it definitely can lead to some interesting battleground experiences. I imagine some guilds will try to go for this, which means that it might be beneficial to actually be selfish and try to win instead of trading back and forth with other guilds. So we'll see. I don't know, and I don't know if this outweighs all the personal benefits of splitting the map and so on, trading back and forth. But yeah, with the attrition cap, I don't know. It might be guilds might be more willing to try to win, get a lot of victory points in order to get these buildings there. So that's the first new building. We also have the Tourney grounds. This is also Diamond League exclusive. This one you get from fights and negotiations. You get fragments of them with all of the other rewards you can get. So this one basically gives the same reward. It gives attack and defense boost for both Guild Battlegrounds and Guild Expedition, even higher than the Tourney grounds here, than the Tower of Champions. However, it's a limited building, so it's basically Guild Battlegrounds' answer to the Forgotten Temple. Speaking of which, the Forgotten Temple has gotten new boosts. These are in addition, I believe, to the old boosts. Between 50 and 145% attack and defense for attacking and defending army in Guild Battlegrounds. So interestingly, the Forgotten Temple gives Guild Battlegrounds boost, which, definitely interesting to see. And yeah. Were you about to ask us about defending army boost for Guild Battleground? Guess what? They are indeed not in use right now. So who knows? They might be used there in the future. But yeah, that's not for now. So those are the new reward buildings. But another thing, as I mentioned, you get this as fragments for winning advances in Diamond League. All the other rewards have also been updated slightly. I don't know all the specifics yet, but something that I'm sure a lot of people are wondering is, has this changed the chance of getting diamonds from Guild Battlegrounds? Now, based on what I've read so far, still quite low data sets, but based on what I've read, I don't think so. I think it'll be roughly the same. The amount of diamonds you get as a reward has been increased to 45 in Diamond League at least. It's probably lower in the lower leagues. So the amount of diamonds you get has been increased, but the chance has been lowered. Now overall, I think it's quite similar to the old chance. Kona here, for example, mentioned that it looks very close to how it was. Ninja Alin here had a bit worse luck in the first season, or in the first couple of days at least. So based on 1,000 fights, the chance was around half, or the amount of diamonds was around half what we got in the past. However, I also saw that Ninja Alin wrote on my Discord server that in this season, I believe, based on 500 fights, the chance was a lot higher than in the past. So I imagine once we get a big sample size, things will even out. And I imagine that the amount of diamonds will be roughly the same as we got in the past. But don't quote me on it, and for who knows, they might even change it. But at least based on what I've seen right now, it's roughly the same. Another thing one thing I forgot to mention about mechanics is that the number of goods you need to negotiate, for example, has been changed. So Wisecracker here on the forum compiled this post here, where we see the new and old negotiation costs. And we can see that the new system, you can get a lot more negotiations done early on with lower costs. So in the old system, you got up to 2 goods already at attrition 5. That's now bumped all the way to attrition 10, which is very nice. And you can see that in the beginning here especially, you can get a lot more done. The costs are lower for a lot longer, which is very nice. But yeah, then once we get to a certain point, it's not really that big of a difference, but still slightly lower than in the past. Now in terms of fighting, the percentages up to level 75 are the same, as far as that's what I've been told. Beyond that, they are slightly lower, not that big of a difference, but here we have a list from Ninja Alin again. If you look at level 80, for example, the new value is 1,340, and the old one is 1,347, so ever so slightly lower. If you go down a little bit, it's a bit bigger difference. At level 100, the old one was 2,221, the new one is 2,000. So decent decrease there. And if you go to 120 is the last one I have in this screenshot. 120, the old one, 3,670, and the new one, 3,600. So slightly lower as well. So we can see that the attack boosts have been lowered slightly in this range, but it's not really that big of a difference. I don't think this will matter a lot. For people getting to these values, yeah, I don't think it really will matter a lot. Another thing that has changed when it comes to attrition levels is that the max attrition level has been increased. The new max seems now to be 210 instead of 150. The attack penalty has been doubled from 12,000 to 24,000 at max attrition. So that means that the fighting forever will definitely be a lot more challenging. I don't really know how it will work, if it's going to be difficult now with higher age units. I don't know. That'll be interesting to see. And the negotiation multiplier has increased a lot from 60, I believe. Yeah, from 60 at 150 to 152 now at level 210 and beyond. So yeah, quite a big jump in both of these. And that's something that I have mentioned. One of their goals with this is to kind of limit the farming, I suppose, of Guild Battlegrounds, limit the constant, or the how should I put it? Basically limit the amount you can do, and I think also make it more about winning the battlegrounds instead of just getting personal rewards. So what do I think about that? I don't know if this is a popular opinion, but I like what they're trying to do. I lost interest in Guild Battlegrounds ages ago because I don't like the mindless fighting. So personally, if they can achieve their goals, I would be all for it, but I'm not sure if this is going to do it. I think once the novelty factor wears out, my guess is that people will go back to focusing on personal rewards, because as I mentioned, the new buildings here, they are diamond exclusive. The Tower of Champions, for example, is only for the top 3 guilds in each Battleground season. Something I don't think I mentioned, they also plan to rotate these, so when the next season comes around in a couple of months, or the next championship, comes around in a couple of months, they will replace it with another building, and it might never return. So yeah, so there is some value to trying to win these, definitely very good buildings, but I'm not sure if enough guilds will focus on this, or if they'll just continue to do the same as they've done in the past, and just focus on farming for their own sake, for own personal goods, personal rewards. The amount of fights will probably go down quite a lot, I think, because there's no infinite fighting anymore, and no 100% reduction in attrition rates, which, I personally, I don't mind that. I think a lot of people definitely will dislike it. Personally, I don't really mind it, but that's probably because I don't really play a lot either, and I guess I'll say this change definitely does not do it for me. It's not going to make me play Guild Battlegrounds. Nothing really of importance changed for me. Some fancy new buildings and all of that, but rewards more or less the same, especially because all the new rewards are Diamond League exclusive, so not really anything to fight for. Oh, actually, that reminds me, I did forget to mention when it comes to rewards, a little bit disorganized, we have some new reward types. So if I sort by Guild Battlegrounds, so we have a new Guild Battleground Elephant Kit and Guild Battleground Statue Kit. These are the new rewards. So instead of getting the old rewards, you get these now from encounters or for winning fights and negotiations. And these are more or less the same, except that they also include the chain buildings. So the statue here, you also have the road to victory, and for the elephant here, you also have the iridescent garden. So all of those are now included, and all leagues will get this kit. So that's quite nice as well. I think you can get more easily get the old rewards, including the chain buildings. That's another reward change. So I guess to round off my opinion, I don't think this is gonna change things too much. Personally, I wasn't a fan of Guild Battlegrounds before this. This is not going to change anything for me. But it will be interesting to see how guilds adapt to it, and if they are going to go for the rewards. Is this powerful enough of a building to want to make a guild focus on winning or getting a lot of victory points and winning Battleground seasons in order to get those rewards? And will this ranking mean anything? Will guilds try to go for winning the championship? It's quite an exclusive one. One championship every 6 weeks, and only one guild can win it, so it will be quite exclusive. I remember in the past when me and my guild, when we focused and when we finally made it to rank 1, it was very nice, very rewarding to finally have a number here behind the top 1 days. I don't remember how long we lasted, but after a month or so I kind of burnt out on that. But it was fun, very fun to finally achieve it. So I wonder if it'll be similar here, and if some of the top guilds are going to fight for winning the championship, or if it's not going to matter and it's just going to be about personal reward as it is currently. So who knows? I guess that's some of my thoughts, perhaps not as organized as, I wouldn't say I'm usually that organized either, but that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think. And again, this is on beta, so things might change, who knows. Before I end, I do want to talk a little bit about, about what I talked about in my old video, in my last video. So as I said, I had been quite ill for about a week when I made that video, with most likely a flu, I think. And then I just kept on coughing. It took, all throughout the next week. I didn't have any other symptoms. I was well enough to go to work and so on. But I just kept on coughing, so making videos was quite challenging indeed. And then the next weekend there, I think I might have caught a short cold or something as well, because all of a sudden I had some, I was not only coughing, but I also had some sore throat for a couple of days, which of course only extended the coughing. So the week after that as well, I just kept on coughing. So, 1 week of being quite ill and then 2 weeks of coughing. That made making videos quite challenging. And then last weekend, I was planning on making this video here, talking about the Guild Battlegrounds. I ended up delaying it a little bit. I was still coughing a bit, so I thought, let's do tomorrow. Tomorrow was Monday, but the Battleground season had ended, so I wasn't able to make it then, which is why it has been delayed until now. So that's where I've been, and also in my last video I mentioned that I would make a guide and so on for the soccer event. As you can see, I ended up not doing that. That's because, as things dragged out, it would be longer and longer until I could make anything, and it made less sense to make anything because at that point I felt like it was kind of too late to to make my guide on the event. So. And luckily we had stuff from the past event, the Uber Nerds video and so on, so I didn't feel that big of a need to make one a week or two after the event had started, so that's why I eventually didn't make anything. But don't worry, I'm good now, I'm well now, and I will definitely make guides for the fall event and Halloween event and so on. The fall event should be starting in a couple of weeks. I will probably try to make at least some of my stuff next weekend. So yeah, we'll see when that might come out. I'm not quite sure, but that'll definitely be fun. I do also want to finally get back to doing beta recaps, and my plan is to do that tomorrow. So yeah, look forward to doing that. Gonna talk about Halloween, for example. That's probably the main thing. It looks very interesting indeed. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Other than that, I don't really have too much more to say. So before I end, let me thank my Patreons for their support. I would like to thank Hamstar, Lodden, Kim Kelly, Rolf the 8, Dan Sumnad, Chanti, Hekate, Dark Matter, Mylia, Shiro K, Merrick B, Hugo Kant von Count, Dritter Renvis, Susan Weiss, Rocco, Spike from No Remorse, Martin Ms, Atomic, Flavius the Avenger, Ugler, Juber, Whiskey Meter, Mar and Sir, Hoss, Henrik Dari Klarberg, Adarel, Mike, Up to the Obsessed, Ruth, Karen, Dennis, Flavius Belisarius, Stumper, Podger, BusyX77, Niklas, Mikeso, Michael, and Early Morning. Thanks a lot for your support, thanks for watching, take care, and I will see you in the future. Bye bye.